Hey cats, what's happening? Hey, before I get started on this, just a quick response to my last video. I know I made some of you people a little bit upset, and I apologize. It wasn't my intention to do that. As far as the dating sites go, I'm not looking to date anybody. I never was. The only reason I went on to look at the dating sites was just out of curiosity. Some friends had recommended me to take a look at that, and I did, and I learned that that's not a way to go. And you know, and I really wasn't thinking that I was going to find a date on the dating site. I was just on there out of curiosity, just to see what it was all about. So that's out of the question. In fact, I made a vow to my wife that I wasn't going to, that I was going to stay single, and I want to keep that as my plan for now. So sorry if I, upset anybody. Didn't mean to do that. Didn't mean you to think that I was already pushing Val out of my life and moving on, because that's not the case at all. Not in the least bit. Well, it's kind of a crummy day. I mean, just a little bit ago it was actually like sleet snowing. But it's springtime, we're in April. And so I thought that I would take you around and show you some of the beautiful things that we have in our yard. Because normally this time of year I would be doing this with my wife, but she's not here, so I'll bring you guys along and show you. I've got these little flowering plums. Now, these aren't the kind of plums that have fruit on them. They're just kind of a pretty, reddish kind of leaves on them, and the blossoms are beautiful. And they get pretty big. I've seen some of them that are as big as a tree. You'll still notice over the winter that these ash trees are dying and they're falling, and so they're leaning, they're tipped. Some of them haven't even fallen yet, but they're dead, and they're going to end up falling out in my yard. But everywhere around the borders of my property I have the same issue, where these trees are dead now, and then they rot out and they collapse down, and then I'm stuck cleaning up the mess. My daffodils have already passed on for the season, but I planted a couple bulbs there many years ago, and they proliferate. They continue to expand and grow. So, and I can even dig up some of the bulbs and move them around some more and spread them along. I like to see them growing along the side of the driveway. This was Val's favorite tree, the redbud, and it's an interesting tree because the blossoms just kind of grow out of the stems of the tree. Now, this tree, it had some storm damage. We had a real heavy snow, and it split right down the middle, and the whole side fell out. So what I did was I cabled it with some heavy galvanized wire, and I put eye bolts in there. Now I see how the tree's kind of growing around the eye bolts already, so it won't damage the tree, and it's holding it together so this can heal back up. It probably never would heal completely, but that's necessary to keep it from breaking apart again and leaving that open wound there. Now, when you do have to do something like that, you never want to wrap something all the way around the tree, because the tree will continue. This part of the tree doesn't grow up like this. It grows out like this. It expands. So, and you can see it's already starting to grow around the eye bolts that I put in there, and it'll soon completely consume those, and they'll grow right into the tree. But if you were to wrap something all the way around there, it would eventually choke off that whole branch, and it would kill it. So you don't want to do that either. There's another a flowering crabapple that V and I planted here a few years ago, and it's doing real well. It's beautiful blossoms on it this year, and it's got a ways to go before I can take the cage off. I keep these cages on here to keep the deer from tearing them up, and I'll show you back here what the deer have done. Well, this pine tree should be, this Norway spruce should probably be about 4 foot taller than it is right now, but the deer got to it and he completely took the whole top of it off. So it's kind of regrowing a new lead on it there. And it'll be a couple years before I can take that basket off of there, because even a tree that size, the buck, if he gets a hold of it with his antlers, he'll destroy it. We planted this little redbud tree last year in the spring. I think we got it, saved it from the Walmart parking lot. They leave these sitting out at Walmart and they don't take care of them, they don't water them or anything, and they usually just croak and die. This, I have this magnolia growing up by the house, and it does have beautiful blossoms on it, but the frost kind of hit it a little bit. But I've been having a problem on this tree with scale, and scale is kind of a weird thing. I don't know if you can see it on here, but it looks like, you know, just tiny little seashells stuck to the bark. You can see a couple on there, and that sucks the sap out of the bark and it kills the tree. So I've sprayed it a couple times with some oil that kills the scale, and the thing should grow a little healthier now. If it wasn't for the cold weather and the frost, it would be doing okay. I've got this little cherry here, and it has the most beautiful, you know, pink carnation type of blossoms on it. I love this thing. I wish it would blossom some more. But this is what the deer did to it. You know, when it was just a little tree, just about destroyed it. There's another flowering cherry over here, and the deer destroyed it too, so it's suckering all out. I'm just gonna let it go and see whatever happens to it. A flowering pear right there. Now this is another prize tree of ours, this flowering crabapple. It's getting pretty big now where it kind of can stand on its own, and I don't have to worry about the deer tearing it up anymore. But this one split out too a few years back, and it had a real heavy snowfall, and the whole half of it, you know, came falling way down. So I was able to put a ratchet strap on it, cinch it back up, and then I have a cable up there, a heavier cable, holding it all together so it doesn't collapse. I don't know what's going on here. This was a puddle in the yard, and some animal keeps coming in here and digging up the mud, pulling up the sod. I don't know why they're doing that. I don't know if it's raccoons, skunks. Something at night comes in there and just makes a mess. This is my little plum tree, and I think I got this from Rural King, and as you can see, the top of it's dead, and it's got some leaves coming out on it, so I'm hoping it'll survive. I don't know, it looks pretty weak. It looks like it's struggling. I keep praying over it. Every time I try to grow a fruit tree here, it never survives. It always croaks on me. Well, I'll tell you what, it's rainy and crummy. It's cold. I'm getting wet. That's all right though. You know, I like to come out and check the yard. My garden, I've sprayed some vinegar on it. It's kind of starting to kill off the grass. It was just thick grass. So a few more weeks I'll be tilling that up. But plenty of yard work to do. I'm going to get the place looking pristine. That'll keep me busy and keep me out of trouble. And I promise you this. No more dating sites for me. I'm done with that. I learned my lesson. I learned exactly what they're all about, and they're not a good place for anybody unless you want trouble. I don't need trouble. I don't want trouble. Well, thanks for hanging out with me and taking the stroll around the property. As you can see, it's plenty wet out here. I'm going to head in the house here. It's even a little too cold for me to work out in the man cave. And actually, I'm waiting on a part. There's a little spacer that's kind of a unique part. And I can't put the case together until I get that spacer. And I couldn't find one anywhere. My son is going to make one on his 3D printer. And then I can put it back together, but I haven't heard from. I'm going to get a hold of him today and see what's going on with that, because I haven't heard from him since last week. But anyways, thanks for watching. If you like my video, hit me with a thumbs up, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe and join me on this ride. And until next time, cats, ride hard and die free.